Right, the next bit of this video is going to be looking at how we actually sort of make some sense of that. And when you're reading an unseen poem, you don't just read it once, and you may not even just read it twice, because you're continually going back and trying to make sense, and you're digging a little bit deeper, and you're thinking, why is one single word placed there, and then just down below it I've got another word which seems to tie into it. So all the time your brain is working and you're adjusting what you think. But for today, all I'm going to do is just jot down some notes, and basically they're just sort of taking those notes and putting them into a slightly more sensible sort of series of sentences. So what is the topic? What is the poem about? Well, I think that down here we've kind of summed it up. It seems to be about an event involving child, his 3-year-old, and it seems to be from the point of view of a protective parent. It's to do with, I'm writing in notes and not in whole sentences, about pain and Nettles. And it's about that parent almost waging a war on those Nettles in order to, well, number one, protect his child, but I also think it's almost a hopeless, pointless battle. And I think that sort of sense of pointlessness is he's never going to win that battle. He's never going to destroy all the Nettles, the metaphorical Nettles in that child's life. What's the tone? Well, we talked already about a sense of bitterness, and as I was sort of writing it, I think that bitterness is because he kind of realizes how pointless his anger is. So he's angry, but I think he understands by the end of it that he's not going to win this battle. So it does change. So let's put down, it kind of moves through anger, maybe frustration at his helplessness, to a sense of resignation. Resignation means you kind of come to terms with the fact, or you realise that you can't really do much about it. And I think actually all of this is kind of wrapped up, isn't it, in the poet's intentions. So the poet is basically talking about how difficult it is as a parent to protect your child, and how your child is going to be going through some problems, some obstacles in life, and no matter what a parent does, that parent is not going to be able to stop them all. The techniques are going to underpin everything that you talk about. We've come across quite a few there, so I'm just going to prioritise maybe what I would hope to cover if I was writing about this poem in 30 minutes or so. I think I'd want to talk about the sustained metaphor or imagery of war or battle. I think that would be one thing to make sure I've explored. It doesn't mean you can do every single quote. You don't do that, but you can refer to some bits. If you're going to, for example, use a quote like, let's pick one, blisters beaded at some point, or you're going to talk about hook and honed, don't just talk about the imagery, but talk about the way alliteration is used to compound that imagery. Okay, so when you get a quote, get a really good quote that you can refer to other keywords around it. This is all part of the imagery, but I'll put it down as a separate one. I think the rhythm is really important. So the beat, the rhyme, so let's put down here rhyme, alternate rhyme we called it, so let's put down here alternate rhyming all the way through, very steady, a bit like the marching of those Nettles, a bit like the marching that would go in line with the battle sounds, if you like. And we've also got that iambic pentameter, not for all lines. If you wanted to spot some of the lines where it doesn't necessarily follow that, you might do that. You've also got that sense of those end stop lines which are used often to emphasize something. I love that one there. I lit a funeral pyre to burn the falling dead. Full stop. A sense almost that he's won the battle, and then followed by but. Another thing I didn't really talk about was you have these full stops at the end, but you also have enchantement, where you've got these lines breaking in half. With sobs and tears break. The boy came seeking comfort. Almost like the emphasis then on those words there, and that happens quite a lot, but I'm not going to put this into here. We have got individual metaphors, personification, and we talked about those where we've got this personification down here. Called up the weather, called up tall recruits, called up, personifying that weather. That lovely individual one there, blisters, beaded, the regiment of spies, so you could just pick one and talk about it. You might also want to talk about the change in pace, and there are several places where that happens, but certainly down here, that signal word but, or here where you've got this change of pace and he goes out to do battle, and then. What are your personal reactions to the poem? How does it make you feel? What does it make you think about? Well, I'm going to leave that one up to you. I mean, certainly for me, it's really resonant. It really makes me think of the way that humans, we do try and make the world better for the ones we love, for the world itself. But maybe instead of slashing and the fury that I know that we all feel sometimes when things don't go right and we want to protect somebody, maybe we have to take another path. Now I'm going to pause there, and you can see there the link between the notes here and this, but you're now ready to think about what's important in this poem and to write about it in greater detail.